The cobblestone streets of Edinburgh's old town, steeped in centuries of history, glistened under the pale glow of gas lamps, a fine mist clinging to the ancient stonework like a spectral shroud. Anderson's Antiques stood in the heart of this labyrinth of narrow alleys and towering tenements. This shop seemed to whisper ancient secrets, its walls exuding an aura of mystery as old and enigmatic as the city itself. The shop was not just a place of business, but a repository of enigmas waiting to be unraveled. I, James Anderson, am the proprietor of this establishment. At first glance, you might mistake me for just another mild-mannered shopkeeper, graying at the temples, wire-rimmed glasses perched on my nose, and a penchant for tweed waistcoats. Hidden beneath this mask, I am a man who has witnessed events that could drive others mad. My unique experiences, the kind that would captivate the most jaded listener, have shaped me and made me who I am today. My deep blue eyes witness mind-shattering events compared to Loch Ness's depths. My hands, calloused from handling arcane objects, bear the scars of encounters with items that should have remained lost to time. I couldn't ignore the intuition that was off. The air held its breath, a tangible silence. Unbeknownst to me, this marked the start of a sequence of events that would alter my life. The air felt heavy, charged with electricity, making the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. "Isabella," I called out, my voice barely above a whisper. "Do you feel that?" From the shadows, a figure materialized. Isabella, my enigmatic companion. To the uninitiated, she was a striking young woman with raven hair and porcelain skin. Her eyes, a deep amber that seemed to glow in the dim light of the shop, held secrets that spanned centuries, adding to the mystery surrounding her. Isabella was a vampire, though not the kind you'd find in penny dreadfuls or sensationalist novels. She was ancient, wise, and possessed a strength that belied her delicate appearance. We had formed an unlikely partnership since I inherited the shop, bound by our shared experiences with the supernatural and a deep respect for her age and wisdom. "I do," Isabella replied, a melodic whisper that seemed to caress the air. "There's a charge in the atmosphere. Something's coming, James. Something powerful." As if on cue, the bell above the shop door chimed, a discordant note that sent a shiver down my spine. A figure stumbled in, cloaked in a heavy wool coat that seemed to swallow the surrounding light. The stranger's face was hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat, but I could see their hands trembling as they clutched a small, ornate box to their chest. "Help me," the figure rasped, their voice dry and cracked like ancient parchment. "Please, you must take it, before they find me." Isabella moved with inhuman speed, catching the stranger as they collapsed. The box clattered to the floor, echoing ominously through the shop. As Isabella lowered the unconscious form to the ground, I retrieved the box. The moment my fingers touched the carved wood, energy surged through me. Images flashed before my eyes. A compass spinning wildly, a desert storm, a pair of eyes burning with hellfire. I gasped, nearly dropping the box. "James?" Isabella's concerned voice brought me back to the present. "What did you see?" I shook my head, trying to clear the lingering visions. "Something dark, something old. This box. Whatever's inside, it's dangerous." Isabella's eyes narrowed as she examined our unexpected visitor. "They're gone," she said softly. Heart simply stopped. It's as if their life force was abruptly extinguished. A shudder ran through me as I glanced from the lifeless body to the box I held. "We must know what's inside," I stated, my voice steady despite my unease. "First, we must secure the shop. Whatever this is, I feel we're not the only ones looking for it." As Isabella moved to activate the shop's protective wards, a complex system of runes and enchantments hidden within the walls, I retreated to my study at the back of the shop. The room, filled with dangerous artifacts and occult books, was a sanctuary. With trembling hands, I placed the box on my desk and examined it. The wood was dark, possibly ebony, and intricately carved with symbols I recognized from various mystical traditions, Arabic, Celtic, and even some that appeared pre-dynastic Egyptian. "It's as if someone tried to create the most potent protective charm possible," I muttered, tracing a finger along the carvings. "But protect what?" As Isabella returned, I finally found the courage to open the box. The lid creaked open, revealing a velvet interior, and, nestled within, a brass compass unlike any I'd ever seen. The compass's surface was etched with the same cryptic symbols as the box, forming intricate patterns that seemed to shift and move if I looked at them too long. Instead of pointing north, the needle spun lazily, as if drunk on some unseen force. James, Isabella breathed, her eyes wide. I've seen something like this before, centuries ago in Persia. It was said to be a tool of sorcerers, a way to navigate the realms between worlds. As if responding to her words, the compass began to glow faintly, its needle spinning faster and faster. The temperature in the room plummeted, our breath visible in the suddenly frigid air. Isabella, I said, my voice tight with apprehension. I think we may have just invited something into our world, something that should have remained hidden. The lights in the study flickered and died, plunging us into darkness broken only by the compass's eerie glow. The sound of breaking glass was accompanied by an eerie, guttural growl that seemed otherworldly. Isabella's hand found mine in the darkness, her grip solid and reassuring. Whatever comes, James, she said, her voice steady, we face it together. I felt this was just the beginning as we stood in the darkness. The compass found us for a reason. I sensed our lives would become complex and dangerous. The growl came again, closer this time, accompanied by heavy footsteps. Isabella and I exchanged glances, allowing us to communicate without words all this partnership time. Whatever was coming, we would face it. We had to. For if we failed, I feared the consequences would reach far beyond the walls of our little antique shop. With the compass clutched tightly in my hand, its glow our only light source, we stepped out of the study to confront whatever horror awaited us in the darkened shop. The adventure that would change our lives forever had begun. The antique shop's main room was a maze of shadows, the familiar shapes of artifacts and curios transformed into looming, ominous silhouettes. The growl we had heard moments ago had faded, replaced by an eerie silence that seemed to press against our eardrums. Isabella's hand tightened around mine as we inched forward. Her vampire senses were on high alert, her eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. I held the compass before us, its faint glow casting a sickly light that did little to penetrate the gloom. There, Isabella whispered, nodding towards a corner where an ornate Victorian mirror stood. For a split second, I saw a pair of glowing red eyes reflected in the glass, gone so quickly I might have imagined them. But I knew better. Imagination was often the least of our worries in our line of work. We need more light, I muttered, fumbling in my pocket for a box of matches. As I struck one, the small flame illuminating our immediate surroundings, a gust of icy wind extinguished it instantly. The compass in my hand began to vibrate, its needles spinning wildly. The symbols etched on its surface seemed to writhe and dance, forming patterns that hurt my eyes to look at directly. Suddenly, Isabella stiffened beside me. James, she hissed, something's here. Something old. Ancient. A grinding stone-like voice filled the room, seeming to come from nowhere and everywhere before I could respond. The compass of shadows, it rasped. After all these centuries, it has resurfaced. The temperature in the shop plummeted further, frost crystallizing on the glass display cases. I could see my breath misting in the air, and even Isabella, usually impervious to cold, shivered beside me. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. "What do you want with the compass?" A low, rumbling chuckle echoed through the room. "My identity holds no importance, mortal. The compass, however, that is everything." The shadows in the corner began to coalesce, taking on a vaguely humanoid shape. 2 hellfire pinpricks burned, piercing our souls with their gaze. "Give me the compass," the entity demanded, extending a hand formed of swirling darkness. "Give it to me, and I might let you live." Isabella moved closer, positioning herself between me and the shadowy figure. "We are the guardians of this place." "No," she said, her voice ringing with an authority that belied her youthful appearance. "Whatever you are, you have no power here. Leave. Now." The shadow creature laughed again, a sound like breaking glass. "Brave words, little vampire, but you have no idea what forces you're dealing with." With shocking speed, a tendril of darkness shot out, wrapping around Isabella's throat. She gasped, her hands clawing at the insubstantial shadow that was somehow solid enough to choke her. Panic surged through me. "Stop," I shouted, holding up the compass. "You want this? Fine, just let her go." The shadow paused, its fiery gaze shifting from Isabella to the compass in my hand. The tendril around Isabella's throat loosened, and she stumbled back, coughing. A wise decision, the entity purred. Now, hand it over. I gazed down at the compass, its needle still spinning frantically. At that moment, I knew I couldn't give it up. The purpose of this thing with the compass is likely not good. I took a deep breath and did something hazardous, and quite possibly very stupid. I began to recite an incantation I had discovered years ago in an ancient grimoire, but had never dared to use. Lux in tenebris, I intoned, my voice growing stronger with each word. Veritas in obscuro, potestas in anima mea. The compass blazed to life, emitting brilliant white light that filled the entire shop. The shadow creature shrieked, a sound of pure agony that made my teeth rattle in my skull. This isn't over, it hissed as it began to dissipate. The compass will be mine, and you will pay for your defiance. With a final ear-splitting screech, the entity vanished, leaving only a lingering chill and the acrid smell of brimstone. As the light from the compass faded, the shop's electric lights flickered back to life. Isabella and I stood there, breathing heavily, trying to process what had happened. James, Isabella said, her voice hoarse from the shadow's attack. What was that? How did you foresee the success of magic? I shook my head, staring down at the compass in disbelief. I didn't. It was a gamble, a desperate one. Isabella moved closer, examining the compass. The symbols, she murmured. They've changed. She was right. The etchings on the compass's surface had rearranged, forming a new pattern I didn't recognize. I think, I said slowly, we've just taken the first step on a perilous path. Isabella nodded, her amber eyes meeting mine. Whatever's coming, we'll face it together. As we stood there, surrounded by the familiar trappings of the antique shop that now felt alien and threatening, I couldn't ignore the sensation that our lives had irrevocably changed. The compass was more than just a mystical artifact. It was a key to something vast and terrifying. And somewhere in the night, a creature of shadow and flame was plotting its revenge. We need to learn more, I said, moving towards my study. About the compass, about that thing. We need to be prepared. As Isabella followed me, I saw our reflections in the Victorian mirror, worn and shaken, yet our eyes held newfound determination. Whatever trials lay ahead, whatever dark forces we had unwittingly awakened, we would face them. We had to. The alternative was unthinkable. Unaware, we embarked on a journey beyond reality's limits. The following days were a blur of research and preparation. Isabella and I pored over every tome and grimoire in my collection, searching for any mention of the Compass of Shadows or the dark entity that had attacked us. Sleep became a luxury we could ill afford, our nights filled with the rustle of ancient pages and calm discussions. On the third night, as a storm raged outside, battering the shop's windows with sheets of rain, we finally found something. James, look at this, Isabella called, her finger tracing a line in a weathered manuscript. The book, bound in cracked leather that seemed to absorb the lamplight, was written in a script so old it had taken us hours to decipher. I leaned over her shoulder, squinting at the faded text. The Compass of Shadows, I read aloud, forged in the fires of creation and tempered in the void between worlds. It points not to magnetic north, but to the hidden places where reality wears thin. I felt a shiver go down my back as I continued reading. It speaks of a demon, Malakar, who seeks the compass to tear down the barriers between dimensions. Isabella's eyes widened. The shadow creature? I nodded grimly. It seems likely, but there's more. The compass is said to be linked to a guardian spirit, a Djinn bound to protect it from falling into the wrong hands. As if summoned by our words, the compass began to vibrate on the desk where we'd placed it. The needle spun rapidly, and a soft glow emanated from its surface. Suddenly, the air in the study shimmered like a heat haze on a summer day. A figure began to materialize, translucent, then slowly gaining solidity. Isabella and I stepped back, ready for another attack. But this presence felt different, not evil like the shadow creature, but ancient and weary. The figure fully appeared, a tall, imposing man with bronze skin and eyes that swirled with galaxies. He wore garments that seemed to be intricately woven from the night sky, constellations shifting across the fabric. "I am Zafir," the being announced, his voice resonating with power, "guardian of the Compass of Shadows, and you, mortals, have awakened me from a long slumber." I swallowed hard, finding my voice. We didn't mean to. The compass came to us, and with it, danger. Zafir's starry gaze fixed upon me. The compass chooses its bearers, James Anderson. It has chosen you and your vampire companion for a reason. Isabella stepped forward, her stance protective. What reason? And how do you know our names? A sad smile played across Zafir's lips. I know many things, Isabella. The compass connects me to the streams of time and fate. As for why it has chosen you... He paused, his form flickering slightly. A great darkness approaches. Malakar, the demon you encountered, intends to employ the compass to unleash chaos upon your world and countless others. How can we stop him? I asked, feeling the weight of responsibility settling on my shoulders. Zafir's expression grew grave. The task before you is perilous. The compass must be taken to the heart of shadows, where the fabric of reality is weakest. Only at that place can Malakar be defeated and the power of the compass sealed. A crack of thunder shook the building, making us all jump. The lights flickered ominously. He comes, Zafir warned, his form beginning to fade. I cannot maintain this form for long. It would be best to prepare for a journey unlike any you have undertaken. Trust in each other and the compass. It will guide you, but beware, its power may also attract dark forces. As Zafir vanished, the compass's glow intensified. Outside, the storm reached a fevered pitch, the wind howling like 1,000 tormented souls. Suddenly, the shop's protective wards flared to life, runes hidden in the woodwork blazing with eldritch fire. Something was trying to break in. Isabella and I shared a look of determination tinged with fear. We need to leave, she said, quickly gathering essential items. Now, I nodded, snatching up the compass and a few choice books. But where do we go? As if in answer, the compass needle steadied, pointing unerringly northeast. I guess we follow it, I said, a hint of gallows humor in my voice. Just as we reached the shop's back door, a thunderous crash came from the front. The wards had failed. Malakar had broken through. Run, Isabella shouted, grabbing my hand. We burst into the rain-lashed night, the storm mirroring the chaos we were fleeing. Behind us, a savage howl of fury pierced the surroundings. As we raced through the winding alleys of Old Town, compass in hand and a demon at our heels, I couldn't help but think this was just the beginning of our ordeal. The compass of shadows had set us on a path that would lead us into the very heart of darkness. And somewhere out there, the heart of shadows awaited, our only hope of stopping Malakar and saving our world and countless others. With each step into the unknown, the weight of our task bore down upon us. The hunt was on, and the fate of worlds hung in the balance. The rain-slicked streets of Edinburgh blurred past us as we ran, the cobblestones treacherous beneath our feet. The compass clutched in my hand seemed to pulse with otherworldly energy, guiding us through the labyrinthine alleys of the Old Town. Behind us, the roars of Malakar grew fainter, but we didn't dare slow our pace. With her vampiric speed, Isabella could have easily outpaced me, but she matched my mortal stride, her hand firmly grasped in mine. The train station. I gasped between breaths. We need to get out of the city. Isabella nodded, her raven hair plastered to her face by the relentless rain. The compass is pointing north. The Highlands, perhaps? As we emerged onto Princess Street, the grand facade of Waverley Station loomed before us. We dashed inside, the sudden shelter from the storm, a momentary relief. The late-night station was nearly deserted, with a few bleary-eyed travelers waiting for the last trains of the evening. We approached the ticket counter, where a bored-looking attendant regarded us with mild curiosity. 2 tickets for the next train north, I said, trying to keep the urgency out of my voice. As far as it goes. The attendant raised an eyebrow, but said nothing about our bedraggled appearance. That'd be the night train to Inverness. Leaves in 20 minutes from platform 3. As we settled into our seats on the train, I finally allowed myself to breathe. The compass had gone quiet, its needles steady, still pointing north. Do you think we've lost him? Isabella asked, her eyes scanning the nearly empty carriage. I shook my head. I doubt it. Malakar doesn't strike me as the type to give up easily, but at least we've bought ourselves some time. As the train lurched into motion, pulling away from the twinkling lights of Edinburgh, I couldn't help but feel a pang of longing for the safety of our shop. But that safety had been an illusion, shattered by the arrival of the compass. The rhythmic clacking of the train's wheels lulled us into a tense silence. Outside the window, the Scottish countryside rushed by. a dark blur punctuated by the occasional glimmer of distant farmhouses. "James," Isabella said softly, breaking the silence. "What Zafir said about the compass choosing us? Why do you think it did?" I turned the compass over in my hands, studying its intricate engravings. "I wish I knew. We've dealt with dangerous artifacts before, but this feels different. Bigger." Isabella's hand found mine, her touch calm but comforting. "Whatever the reason, I'm glad we're in this together." As the night wore on, exhaustion began to take its toll. Isabella, needing less sleep than a mortal, kept watch while I dozed fitfully, my dreams plagued by shadows and swirling galaxies. I awoke with a start as the train began to slow. Outside, the first gray light of dawn was breaking over the rugged landscape of the Scottish Highlands. "Inverness," the conductor called, navigating the carriage. "End of the line." As we disembarked, the crisp Highland air contrasted sharply with Edinburgh's damp chill, so I consulted the compass again. Its needle swung decisively, pointing northwest. "Into the wilderness," Isabella murmured, gazing at the mist-shrouded hills beyond the city. We quickly gathered supplies in Inverness: sturdy hiking boots, warm clothes, and as much non-perishable food as possible. I also procured a detailed map of the Highlands, though I suspected our journey would take us off any charted paths. As we stood at the outskirts of Inverness, the wild expanse of the Highlands stretching before us, the magnitude of our quest truly began to sink in. "The Heart of Shadows," I said, more to myself than to Isabella. "How will we even know when we found it?" Isabella shouldered her pack, a determined glint in her amber eyes. "The compass will guide us, and if Malakar is truly after it, he'll tell us when we're close." With that ominous thought, we set off into the rugged terrain. The compass led us deeper into the untamed wilderness, away from roads and trails. Hours we were past as we trekked through boggy moors and climbed steep, heather-covered slopes. As the day wore on, the mist that had clung to the hills began to thicken, reducing visibility to mere feet in front of us. The compass glowed faintly in the gloom, our only reliable guide in the increasingly treacherous landscape. "James," Isabella said, her voice tight with tension. "Do you hear that?" I strained my ears, hearing nothing but the whisper of wind through the heather. Then, faintly, I caught a sound like distant, discordant pipes drifting on the breeze. "It's probably just the wind," I said, not believing my words. Isabella shook her head. "No, there's something out there, something old." The piping grew louder, seeming to come from all around us. With it came a shift in the air, a heaviness that pressed against my skin. The mist swirled, taking on shapes that vanished when I tried to focus on them. "We need to keep moving," I said, fighting a rising panic. "The compass." My words were cut short as the ground beneath our feet suddenly gave way. We were falling, tumbling through darkness, the eerie piping growing to a deafening crescendo. As suddenly as it had begun, the fall ended. We landed hard on cold, damp stone, the impact driving the breath from my lungs. Gasping, I fumbled for the compass, its soft glow the only light in the pitch darkness. As my eyes adjusted, I realized we were in some underground chamber, ancient and vast. "Isabella?" I called out, my voice echoing in the cavernous space. "I'm here," she responded, her hand finding mine in the dark. "Where are we?" Before I could answer, a new voice spoke, deep and resonant, filling the chamber. "You have entered the realm of the Aus mortals, and you have brought an object of great power and greater danger." As my eyes continued to adjust, I could make out a figure emerging from the shadows. Tall and lithe, with beautiful and terrible features, it was unlike any being I had ever encountered. "Welcome," the figure said, its voice neither male nor female, "to the borderlands between your world and the Otherworld. You seek the Heart of Shadows, do you not?" Isabella and I exchanged a brief gaze mixed with awe and unease. Our quest had taken an unexpected turn, leading us into a realm of ancient magic and unfathomable danger. As we faced this new challenge, I couldn't help but wonder, were we getting closer to our goal, or had we stumbled into a trap from which there was no escape? The being before us shimmered in the dim light, its form shifting and changing like a mirage. One moment, it appeared as a tall, regal figure with antlers crowning its head, the next as a lithe, ethereal creature with gossamer wings. I found my voice first, gripping the compass tightly. "Yes, we seek the Heart of Shadows. Can you help us?" A smile played across the being's ever-changing features. both beautiful and terrifying. Help? Perhaps, but nothing comes without a cost in the domain of the Aus Sea. I am Angus, guardian of this threshold. And you, bearers of the Compass of Shadows, have stumbled into a world far more dangerous than yours. Isabella stepped forward, her vampiric grace matching the otherworldly elegance of Angus. We're pursued by a demon named Malakar. He seeks to use the compass to break down the barriers between worlds. Angus's expression darkened the air around us, which was growing cold. Malakar. That name is known even here, whispered in fear by beings far older than your civilization. All realms are in danger if he seeks to breach the barriers. The chamber around us began to change, the stone walls melting away to reveal a vast twilight landscape. Rolling hills covered in luminous flowers stretched as far as the eye could see, while mountains that seemed made of crystal pierced the starry sky in the distance. Welcome, Angus said, gesturing to the impossible vista, to the borderlands of Tirnanog, the land of eternal youth. Here, the veil between worlds is thin, and the heart of shadows lies within reach for those worthy of finding it. I couldn't help but gasp at the beauty and strangeness of it all. Beside me, even Isabella looked awestruck with her centuries of experience. But be warned, Angus continued, his voice taking on an ominous tone, the path to the heart of shadows is fraught with danger. Many have sought it, and none have returned. Are you prepared to face trials that test your courage and the essence of who you are? Isabella and I exchanged a glance, a silent communication born of years of partnership. We both knew there was no turning back. We're ready, I said, hoping I sounded more confident than I felt. Angus nodded solemnly. Then follow the path of starlight. But remember, in this realm, nothing is as it seems. Trust each other and the compass, for they may be your only constants in a world of illusion. With those cryptic words, Angus vanished, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air. Taking a deep breath, I consulted the compass. Its needle spun for a moment before settling in a direction, pointing towards a winding path that seemed to be made of woven moonlight. I suppose that's our route, Isabella said, a hint of wry humor in her voice. The landscape around us shifted and changed as we set off along the starlit path. Flowers bloomed and withered in moments, their petals transforming into butterflies that fluttered away on non-existent winds. In the distance, I could hear haunting music, like harps played by unseen hands. We walked for what felt like hours, though time seemed to have little meaning in this place. The compass guided us true, its soft glow a comforting constant in the ever-changing realm. Suddenly, the path before us split into three. Each route looked identical, winding off into different parts of the surreal landscape. Which way? Isabella asked, eyeing the paths warily. I stared at the compass, but for the first time since we'd acquired it, the needle spun wildly, offering no guidance. I don't know, I admitted, a knot of fear tightening in my stomach. As we stood there, uncertain, a figure emerged from the luminous foliage beside the path. It was a woman of breathtaking beauty, her hair the color of spun gold, and her eyes as deep and blue as the sea. Travelers, she said, her voice like music, you've come far, but your journey is far from over. Choose your path wisely. 2 lead to certain doom, and only one will take you closer to your goal. I felt a strange pull towards the woman, an almost overwhelming urge to trust her completely. But after all this time of dealing with the supernatural, I had taught me caution. How can we know which path to choose? I asked, fighting against the allure of her presence. The woman smiled and momentarily thought, I saw a flash of something sharp behind her perfect teeth. I can guide you, but you must prove yourselves worthy. Answer my riddle, and I shall point the way. Fail, and let's say you won't have to worry about finding the heart of shadows anymore. Isabella tensed beside me, her posture subtly shifting into a defensive stance. And what if we refuse to play your game? The woman's beauty seemed to flicker momentarily, revealing something ancient and terrible beneath. Then you will wander these borderlands for eternity, neither living nor dead, always seeking but never finding. I swallowed hard, knowing we had no choice. Tell us your riddle. The woman's smile widened, her eyes glittering with an inhuman intelligence. Very well. Listen closely. I have cities but no houses. I have mountains but no trees. I have water but no fish. What am I? Isabella and I locked eyes, our minds racing. The fate of our quest, perhaps of all worlds, hung on this answer. As we pondered the riddle, the air around us seemed to hold its breath, waiting. In the distance, I thought I heard the echo of Malakar's roar, a reminder of the urgency of our mission. The woman stood perfectly still, her ageless eyes watching us with amusement and hunger. We had to answer, and soon. But what could have cities, mountains, and water yet contain none of the life one would expect? The answer came to me in a flash of insight, so obvious I almost laughed out loud. "A map," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "The answer is a map." The woman's expression froze for a moment, then melted into a smile that was both gracious and slightly disappointed. "Correct, clever mortal, you may pass." She gestured to the leftmost path, which began to glow with a soft, inviting light. "This way will lead you closer to your goal, but be warned, the challenges only grow more difficult from here." As we stepped onto the chosen path, the woman faded, her voice lingering in the air. "Beware the shadows that lurk in your hearts, travelers. For within the realm of the Ao Sea, your greatest fears and deepest desires may become all too real." With those ominous words echoing in our ears, Isabella and I pressed on, the compass again pointing true. The path ahead shimmered with potential, promises, and perils. What other trials awaited us in this otherworldly realm? And how close was Malakar, driven by his insatiable hunger for the compass's power? I couldn't escape the feeling that our most significant challenges and darkest revelations still lay ahead. The luminous path wound its way through an ever-changing landscape. Forests of crystal trees gave way to fields of flowers that sang in whispered harmonies. The sky above was a tapestry of stars, constellations I'd never seen forming and dissolving like celestial sandcastles. Isabella walked beside me, her usual grace tinged with a wariness that spoke volumes. This realm was as foreign to her immortal senses as to my mortal ones. "James," she said softly, breaking the fallen silence between us. "Do you feel it? There's something watching us." I nodded, the hairs on my neck standing on end. I've felt it for a while now. Eyes in the shadows, always just out of sight. The compass in my hand hummed with energy, its needle unwavering despite the fluid nature of our surroundings. We were getting closer to something, but whether it was the heart of shadows or some new danger, I couldn't say. Suddenly, the path before us vanished, melting away like mist in the morning sun. We found ourselves standing at the edge of a vast, mirror-like lake. Its surface was so still, it perfectly reflected the starry sky above, creating the illusion of an endless void. "Now what?" Isabella murmured, eyes scanning the shoreline for any sign of where to go next. Before I could respond, the surface of the lake began to ripple. From its depths rose a tall and regal figure, clothed in attire that gave the illusion of being crafted from the water. "I am the Lady of the Lake," the figure announced, her voice like the gentle lapping of waves on a shore. "Seekers of the heart of shadows, you have come far, but to proceed, you must face that which lies within your hearts." With a gesture, 2 boats materialized on the shore beside us. They were simple coracles, each just large enough for 1 person. "Each of you must make this journey alone," the lady said, her eyes filled with compassion and an otherworldly sternness. "Cross the lake of reflections and confront the shadows within you. Only then may you continue your quest." Isabella and I exchanged glances, a flicker of fear passing between us. We had faced countless dangers together, but the thought of separating from this alien realm filled me with dread. "We have no choice," Isabella said, squeezing my hand reassuringly. "Whatever we face out there, remember, it's not real. We'll find each other again." With heavy hearts, we each stepped into a coracle. As soon as we were seated, the boats began to move of their own accord, gliding silently across the lake's mirrored surface. As Isabella's boat drifted away from mine, the mist began to rise from the water, soon obscuring her from view. I was alone, surrounded by an impenetrable fog, with only the glow of the compass to keep me company. Time seemed to lose all meaning as I floated through the mist. Then, slowly, shapes began to form in the fog around me. I saw scenes from my past, mistakes, people I'd failed to save, moments of weakness and doubt. A figure materialized in the boat across from me, and I gasped. It was myself, but twisted, darker. This shadow self sneered at me, its eyes glowing with malevolence. "You're not worthy of the compass," it hissed, its voice an echo of my own deepest insecurities. "You'll fail, just as you've always failed when it mattered. How many have died because of your mistakes? How many more will suffer if you continue this foolish quest? I gripped the compass tighter, its warm glow a lifeline in the face of my doubts given form. No, I said, my voice shaky at first, but growing stronger. I've made mistakes, yes, but I've also helped people, saved lives, and I won't let fear of failure stop me from doing what's right. The shadow self snarled, lunging forward, but as it did, it began to dissolve, its form breaking apart like smoke in the wind. You haven't defeated me, it whispered as it faded away. I'll always be a part of you. As the last wisps of the shadow vanished, the mist began to clear. I found myself back on the shore of the lake, my heart pounding, but my resolve stronger than ever. Moments later, Isabella's boat emerged from the fog. She looked shaken but determined, and I knew she had faced her demons out on the lake. Are you all right? I asked as she stepped ashore. She nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I've confronted shadows far older than this realm, James. However, facing oneself is a unique challenge. The Lady of the Lake appeared before us again, her expression inscrutable. You have passed the test of the Lake of Reflections. Your path forward is clear, but be warned, the final trial that awaits you will test your strengths and the bond between you. A wave of her hand unveiled a new path, guiding her towards a far-off mountain. Its peak was shrouded in swirling darkness, and I knew that was where we'd find the Heart of Shadows. As we descended the path, the compass hummed with renewed energy. We were close now, I could feel it, but so, too, was danger. In the distance, a tumultuous rage echoed through the atmosphere. Malakar. He had entered this realm and was nearing his destination. We need to hurry, Isabella said, her eyes flashing with determination. Whatever this final trial is, we must face it before Malakar reaches us. I nodded, picking up the pace. As we raced towards the mountain, the very fabric of reality seemed to warp around us. The beautiful, alien landscape of Tir na Nog gave way to a blasted, nightmarish terrain. The final confrontation was at hand. The Heart of Shadows awaited, and with it, the power to save or destroy countless worlds. As Isabella and I climbed the mountain's treacherous slopes, I silently prayed that our bond and resolve would be strong enough for what lay ahead. Little did we know, the true nature of our quest was about to be revealed, and with it, a choice that would shake the very foundations of reality itself. The path up the mountain was treacherous, the ground beneath our feet shifting and changing with each step. Reality seemed to fray at the edges, glimpses of other worlds flickering in and out of existence around us. Isabella and I climbed in silence, each lost in our thoughts. The compass pulsed almost painfully, the needle spinning wildly before snapping back to point directly up the mountain's peak. As we neared the summit, the air grew thick and heavy, charged with an energy that made my skin prickle. Dark clouds roiled overhead, flashes of otherworldly lightning illuminating the desolate landscape. James, Isabella said, her voice barely audible over the howling wind, whatever happens up there, I want you to know it's been an honor to share this journey with you. I turned to her, seeing centuries of emotion in her amber eyes. Isabella, my words were cut short by a roar. A massive shape hurtled from the sky, landing with an earth-shaking force before us. Malakar had arrived. The demon's form was a writhing mass of shadow and flame, his eyes burning with infernal hunger. The compass, he growled, his voice like grinding boulders. Deliver it to me, and I might grant you mercy. I clutched the compass tighter, its warmth a stark contrast to the chill of terror that ran through me. Never, I declared, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Malakar's laughter was like the sound of 1,000 tortured souls. Fool, you have no idea of your power or what awaits you at the peak. Give me the compass, and I will show you mercies undreamed in your mortal mind. Isabella boldly stepped in, positioning herself as a safeguard between me and the demon. We've come too far to surrender now, Malakar. Whatever power lies in the Heart of Shadows, it's not meant for you. The demon's form seemed to grow, expanding to blot out the sky. Then you will die, and I will pry the compass from your cold, dead hands. With a roar, Malakar attacked. Tendrils of darkness lashed out, wickedly sharp and burning with unholy fire. Isabella moved with unnatural speed, deflecting the attacks with a grace born of centuries of battle. I focused on the compass, desperately trying to unlock its secrets. As Malakar and Isabella clashed in a whirlwind of shadow and fury, the needle spun faster and faster. Suddenly, a beam of pure light erupted from the compass, piercing the darkness. Malakar shrieked in pain, recoiling from the radiance. "Now, James," Isabella shouted, "to the peak." We raced up the final stretch, Malakar's howls of rage echoing behind us. As we crested the summit, we found ourselves in the eye of a cosmic storm. Reality seemed to bend and warp around a pulsing core of darkness and light. This was it, the heart of shadows. As we approached, a voice spoke, not with sound, but directly into our minds. It was ancient beyond reckoning, filled with the weight of eons. "Bearers of the compass," it intoned, "you stand at the nexus of all realities. The heart of shadows is not a place but a choice, a crossroads of destiny." The swirling energies coalesced into three distinct paths, each shimmering with potential. "Before you lie, three possibilities," the voice continued. "You may use the power of the heart to banish Malakar and all his kind, sealing the barriers between worlds forever. You may claim this power for yourselves, ascending to godhood but bearing the terrible responsibility that comes with it. Or you may destroy the heart, allowing the walls between realities to crumble, ushering in an age of chaos and infinite possibility." We exchanged glances, the weight of this choice bearing upon us. In that moment, I saw every adventure we'd shared, every trial we'd faced, every quiet moment of understanding between us. "What do we do?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Before Isabella could answer, Malakar burst onto the scene, his form a vortex of darkness and hate. "Enough games," he roared. "The power is mine." The demon lunged for the heart of shadows, time seemingly slowing. In that instant, I saw countless potential futures unfolding. Worlds saved, worlds destroyed, realities rewritten. I knew what I had to do. With a clarity I had never known before, I raised the compass. It blazed with power, responding to my will. I thought of every person we'd met on our journey, the beauty and terror of the realms we'd traversed, and the delicate balance that held reality together. "Neither destruction nor godhood," I said, my voice ringing with newfound authority. "The barriers must stand, but not as prison walls. Let them be bridges, allowing wisdom and wonder to flow between worlds, but holding back the tides of chaos." The compass flared with blinding light. The heart of shadows pulsed in response, and a wave of energy exploded outward. Malakar screamed as he was caught in the blast, his form dissolving into motes of shadow that scattered to the cosmic winds. When the light faded, Isabella and I were back in Anderson's Antiques. The compass was excellent, and still in my hands, its needle pointing true north again. A lifetime of experiences was mirrored in our eyes as we gazed at each other. Without a word, Isabella embraced me, and I felt the weight of centuries in her arms. "It's over," she whispered. But even as she said it, I knew it wasn't over. It was a new beginning. The compass had changed us and opened our eyes to the vast tapestry of reality. There would be new adventures and new mysteries to unravel. As the first light of dawn crept through the shop windows, Isabella and I began to plan our next journey. The compass of shadows revealed a world beyond our dreams, and we would be there to explore them together. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more spine-chilling tales. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest videos. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and share your scary encounters. Also, consider joining the Fear Frequencies community for exclusive perks and early access to new content. Your support helps us create even more thrilling stories. And if you really enjoyed it, please consider leaving a super thanks.